bringing you the latest news, game updates, insights, highlights, and everything Liberty Hockey. This is Rock the Rink, where Liberty Hockey lives.
Well, the book has officially closed on the regular season for our Division I teams. Welcome back to the Rock the Rink podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. And you couldn't have asked for a better way to close the regular season for the men's D1 team, a more exciting way. You know, game one, you come back, you force an OT, you unfortunately end up losing that one, but then game two, a shootout win on senior night. I mean, Pat, I don't think that series could get you any more pumped up for nationals, right?
No, absolutely not. Obviously, you wish those games didn't go to overtime. You wish Liberty had finished it in regulation. But at the same time, it makes it so much more exciting, right? Because you hear everyone, on the edge of their seat, especially the shootout. You heard a lot of, oh!
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Wait, what did we hear?
It was like, oh! You know, because you're so excited. But, yeah, it was just an exciting way. And even also, too, you send your seniors out one last time the right way, getting a win, and then more importantly, it's against a rival, so that's makes it even more special.
Yeah, I'll agree with as far as it was a pretty electric atmosphere. Yeah, especially Friday. I was in actually the away tunnel, so that was kind of fun. When Truitt scored that tying goal to make it 4-4, and I went like this. I had chills. So whoa. I wouldn't go as far as what the noises you made, but I felt the chills.
Wow, I love that.
And let's just talk, that Truitt coming back to tie up that game, the way that he's come on throughout the end of the semester, really that entire line. I mean, the way that they're working and moving the puck right now, Jackson versus Walono, just point after point, game after game, Truitt as well. And then Jacob Callan, even though, I'm sure he'd love to have more points to show for it, but the way he's moving the puck on that line and making things happen, creating opportunities, that can't go unnoticed.
Yeah, and I think for Callie, like we said a couple weeks ago, the past couple years, whenever 14-0 was out there, you knew you were like, we can't have him beat us. Or if he's going to get his, but let's make sure the rest of them not get it. Now he's getting his in a different way. He currently leads the team in block shots, right?
Crazy.
How often does your top goal scorer is the leader in block shots?
It's Michael Jordan.
All right? He's just even though, like you said, the points aren't there, he is finding other ways to be huge. And also, too, he's getting a lot of assists as of lately too, so that's another part of his game that is, I think, really under noticed, which is great to see, though it's coming to fruition.
Yeah, well, and you look at too, he's also leading the team just in shots, and you can see it that Jackson versus Lono goal, game 2, I believe it was, that's all Jake Callan, but then it hits Jackson's body in front of the net and it goes in, so Jackson gets the goal. So you see him putting the shots on net, and that's what creates the opportunities for other guys to cash in.
Yeah, for me, I want to go back to the Truitt Olsen thing. So I haven't seen that. Right. So, the quotes of hey, you become the people you surround yourself with the most. And I want to say that his newest roommate is at least four-time national champion. So I think this is where he's elevating himself to those big moments.
That's right.
And I think Unique is maybe rubbing off on him.
Yeah, explain that for the people there, just who might not know.
Okay, so Truitt Olsen married our former women's D1 assistant captain, Unique Truder, this past summer. And so newest roommate in the house. She is a four-time national champion and doing wonders for Truitt.
Yeah. Sometimes you just need someone to teach you how to win.
Yeah.
It just kind of is what it is.
Probably comes home after a game, she's not good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're doing some video.
Yeah, exactly. You didn't do this, and this. Yeah. Yeah. Or just, locker room culture, weight room culture, everything there. The girls certainly know what they're doing. But I was super pumped. I got to speak to a few of the boys Saturday morning after the loss, and you could just tell the competitiveness and the willingness to compete and the desire to win is there. And when I look at this past weekend, that's playoff hockey, right? Really, really close games where one or two mistakes they're going to cost you. So I just look at this as a huge learning lesson and great preparation. Credit to Coach Handy for scheduling this, spring semester, getting us ready to head to St. Louis.
Yeah, and I like the second game, the first period, I kind of thought to myself, oh no, I hope it doesn't go this way the whole time, because Ohio, obviously Liberty scored first, then Ohio kind of got hot. They got a power play early, they got a couple power plays, and it honestly, at the beginning of the game, Couch looked like he was fighting the puck a little bit. So a little bit of those rebounds that you want to squeeze. And then Liberty gave up 3 2-on-1s really quickly, and they capitalized on 2 of those. And I kind of thought, like, oh, hopefully this isn't indicative of the entire game. But kudos again to the coaching staff, and like Coach Kerr said, like the entire locker room to like take a breath, take those 15 minutes off, and then come back and then honestly outplay Ohio for a good portion of it. But overall, again, there's a lot of really positive things from this weekend that they can build on and be super competitive at the national tournament.
Yeah, and I look back to game 1 especially, some of the saves that Couch was making were ridiculous. And it's, if you don't have him in that game, I feel like the score could have been completely different than what it was. It's what kept Liberty in that game going down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, he made some big-time saves, especially like whenever you make 47 saves, you got to give him some type of credit, right? Like, because, yeah, I'm sure there's some goals he even knows he would like to have back, especially that OT winner, right? Because I'm sure he misplayed the puck, right? Like, read it wrong, and that's okay, right? Because he got to redeem himself the next night, so making 42 saves. So, I mean, I think Conrad, for that team, you could say he exercised the demon, because that was the only team he hadn't really gotten a win yet this year against. Yeah. And so now he does. So that's huge, right? So I think for him, confidence should be sky high going into the national tournament.
I think for just the whole team too. Yeah. And I was mentioning this to Coach Forth there on the way over, just how I feel like the team is so balanced, right? No matter who is on the ice, we could say, like, okay, that forward line could get the puck deep or make a move and score a goal. That deep pairing could do what they need to do, get a save, break it out. And I think having that deep of a skilled team heading into playoff hockey is really, really going to help us. As other teams start to wear down, maybe they can't match lines with their top D pairing or whatever else. I think all of that just skill and speed and ability to score that we've displayed is going to be on full display there at Centene, which as a coach, that fires me up. Just knowing that, like, oh no, I don't have to hold my breath when these guys are out there. We're going to be looking good.
Yeah, and I think if there's any team that you want to face 6 times in a year that's going to build you and grow you for the national tournament, you couldn't ask for a better opponent than Ohio.
Yeah.
I mean, what we've seen from them over the course of the year is just a really good team. Their depth of scoring. I mean, you think back from this weekend, the big guys that stood out, like Abraham, Albers, Richie, and the series before, it's Aldridge, it's Ovair, it's other guys. Like, I feel like every time you play them, different guys keep making names for themselves. Because even think back to years past. Like, the first time I remember seeing Ohio, it was the Laker Aldridge show. And the next time it's the Luke Reeves show. And this year it's completely different than that. So the talent that they have going into the tournament's really scary, but I feel like just getting that experience and playing a team like that, you can't really ask for anything better.
Yeah, and that for them too, they're so seasoned, right? Like it's kind of the group that I think a lot of people are expecting to now make a push for a national title, right? After making the last 2 years, you make the Final Four. You have, unfortunately, 2 heartbreaking losses in the Final Four too. So like for them, I'm sure in their mind, they're like, yeah, it's our time to put this together and get it done. So like for Liberty, I think, like Andy just said, it's great that you played a very seasoned veteran team with being such a young team for Liberty, but then also too a team that's very well balanced and also extremely hungry, because then you guys got to show you're hungry too.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, there's so many teams heading in here that could be saying what you just said, Pat. Like, this is our time, right? Like, Brucey's time to shine. Could be a lot of different teams there, and we're 1,000,000% in the mix. It's going to be a fun couple weeks here, getting prepared. I can't wait.
Yeah, week after week, we've talked about this line, but you can't really ignore what they're doing. The freshman line, DeMars, Cox-Smith, and Shields. Kerr, could you just give us a little bit of insight into these 3 guys, what they look like in the training room, the way that they attack their work day to day?
Yeah, all kind of like, for me, in the weight room, kind of like quieter. They're not the most like rowdy kind of group walking in the weight room, right? So that's always going to be different. Tucker Shields will show up 10-15 minutes early, get everything set up for the boys. So just like that workhorse, do it for the boys mentality is clearly there. And then with Hayden and Liam, they just put the work in, right, and just kind of do what they need to do to help the team. So I guess, that's kind of all I really want to reveal at this point as far as that goes. But, putting those guys together, you have Liam's just skill, IQ, whatever else you want to call it that makes him successful, surrounded by some big bodies that are willing to work, and it just works, right? That's a hockey line that works really, really well.
Yeah. Pat, could you see that line combo kind of being the future Versalano, Kalendijk, and Olsen?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I think a lot of people see that too, like especially that they've come together so early. Like it took Olsen, Kalendijk, and Versalano before they came together. It took them to their sophomore season. The fact that we were able to find the magic with this group as freshmen, like I think that speaks volumes, and it's huge for like trying to move pieces around because you had so many different top-tier talented guys coming in this season, which I think when we talk about the depth of this team next week on the preview show for Nationals, like just like up and down this lineup, guys can score, and the fact that line after getting together around that Maryville showcase has just been so consistent is huge.
Yeah, it's funny to kind of watch from like a fan perspective. You see that the young line that we just talked about, and like compared to, let's say, the Kalendijk line, it's almost like watching two different, for lack of a better term, two different dogs. Right? You got this old dog that's like, hey, I'm going to trust the process. We're not going to try to do too much. We're going to trust each other. We know where we are, and we're going to get it done. And we've seen that throughout these last three years and even this year. But you get this young line that's like super hyper, like making things happen, turning pucks over, causing turnover. Like they're exciting to watch, but it's kind of like really cool to see that dynamic of like, hey, they've learned from this line and they're going to continue into nationals, but then there's a new line kind of coming in and a new wave of Liberty hockey. So it's fun to watch. It's really cool to see them be successful this season. But yeah, it's fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think even just talking with Liam Coxsmith a few weeks back, like the hunger is so apparent. Like he wasn't shy in hiding. Like, I hate losing. I didn't come here to lose. I'm here to win. And I think he loves playing with two freshman guys who kind of came right out of junior hockey with that same mentality of, if I lose, I'm cut. You know, if I lose, I'm traded, so I'm here to be a winner. So it's fun to kind of see that focus and that mentality you're talking about the second they step on the ice compared to like the veteran line where they have the patience and, you know, they know if they keep working hard, the points are going to come and good things are going to happen. So I feel like it's a good thing to have those two opposing lines.
Yeah. It's a great mix.
Yeah. And I would say that mentality that you just talked about is with all the freshmen, right? Like I remember when Mike DeBrito was on and he basically reiterated those same things. Like saying like, so like I think that the fact that you have 10 plus new guys coming in with that same mentality is really good, and that's why I think Liberty's been so balanced up and down their lineup this year.
Very, very much agree.
And like I don't want to keep beating a dead horse kind of thing, but like Kausch is fantastic. He's a guy that's like, again, obviously with Verostic leaving last year, it's kind of like, you know, who's gonna be the next one? And I'm like, the next year you get that one. From the very beginning, he's as good as Verostic is, and he's better at playing the puck. So, like, something that stood out to me this weekend is if they were killing a penalty, he stopped the puck, there's people in front of him, he puts the puck down and ices the puck himself. Like, that's just that next level mentality as a goaltender, and how this guy was missed by any other teams, I have no idea, but God is good.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you, Mike DeBrito and Hayden DeMars.
Yeah.
Talking.
Thanks for the boys.
Yeah.
Hey, but Brian Finch told us, though, it all started with
That's
him.
true. He's not
wanted to
wrong.
take
Like,
the credit.
I mean, like, I joked on the broadcast with Rhett, but, like, that move brought 5 guys from the Kenyon River Brown Bears, whatever they're called.
Yeah.
Kenai.
Kenai, thank you. Kenyon.
Not from Kenya.
The Kenya.
One day I'll have
That's right.
Kenyan hockey. It'll be good.
No, it really did, though. I mean, you look at the trail that it's left, so many talented recruits it's brought in, but also we'd be remiss not to mention that it was senior night, and I feel like it's a whole era of hockey players that are walking out the door this off season with the amount of guys that you brought in this year. I don't know, Pat, could you just speak to the guys that you've watched play throughout the years, the careers that they've left behind?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously we've talked a lot about Kalendijk, Olsen, and Barcelona, right? Like, and for good reason, right? Like, they've been fan favorites. They've been big-time playmakers. This year, I feel like they've taken their game to another level as well, like, and just the things that they've been able to do. And whenever you need big-time plays, that line seems to always come through, or someone from that line comes through. So, like, that's huge. Then you got to look at Nate Cox, who work ethic is just in his DNA. And I feel like he's been Liberty's best defensive defenseman this year. Like, I mean, there are just a lot of little things he does away from the puck that's been huge and sometimes gets unnoticed, which I think is great. He's played a lot of mistake-free hockey this season, which Liberty, with a team that's so offensively balanced, you need someone that's willing to, one, not only kind of be the enforcer on the back end, but then also play that defensive role, which he's been able to do. Kevin Byte, he's been a great two-way forward, transferring in last season. You knew he had a ton of skill. Also, he's great on the rush. He's great playing the PK, power play. He's an every situational type of defenseman. So, like, that's what you kind of want from him. And he's, like, really fit into the Liberty culture the last 2 years. And then Alexander Charon, right? Like, obviously, you need him in the locker room. He's a great locker room guy. Every time he's on the ice, you know he's given 110%. So, which I'm sure Kerr can talk about what he's like in the weight room, too. But, like, his motor just doesn't stop when he's playing, right? And, like, he tries to take advantage of every opportunity he gets when he gets on the ice. So, like, yeah, it's been a very good Liberty class that has just added to the culture of the program.
Yeah.
How'd you remember all those names? Sorry to cut you off, Annie. That was impressive. I'm like, do you have those written?
Good at what he
do you have those written down somewhere?
No.
I'm going through the Instagram reel right now, like kind of scrolling through, and you just have to highlight last year. I'm like, who brought a baby here at Nationals? Like, it is just, it's too cold here. And then you start hearing like, woof, woof.
Gino.
Oh, yeah. The
That's
Byte
right.
family brought their dog and also made a big appearance in Kevin Byte's on-ice photo there. So big shout out to, it was Gino is the name?
Yeah.
Big shout out to Gino, Liberty's #1 fan. Can't wait to see him at Centene again. So funny. I love that.
Yeah, speaking of the seniors, but like you talked about Sharon and his work ethic continuing throughout these 4 years, and like he's the kind of guy that like I've actually had to call Kirk and was like, Kirk, he can't be on the ice right now. The university is closed for a snow day. So the guy's out there working almost too hard sometimes.
Yeah.
So kudos to Sharon. He gets out there and he gets after it all the time.
No snow days in Moskva.
Yeah, it's just a Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's always great to hear. A really great senior class they're leaving behind, but they're not done yet. Next week, we're going to dive into the national tournament, the matchups, everything that we're going to have to look forward to. So stay tuned for that. But our women's D1 team, they walk away with another conference title. They win the WNMCH Conference Championship. A pretty dominant showing. I mean, they win 9-0, 7-0, and then the big one against Minot, they come away with 2-1. And the stat that immediately sticks out, Fussy, 5 goals.
Yeah.
What she did there was unreal.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything yet with who the tournament MVP is, but if it ain't Brielle Fussy, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to send Kerr after him, all right?
I'm ready.
Let him know. But yeah, I mean, obviously, saw her working along with Zasha, who, to me, those two ladies put together All-American type years this season, so we'll wait to see if they make it. But, like, the work ethic I think they put in after Nationals with the rest of the team, and then they stayed over the summer. Like, it's good to see it showing on the ice this year for them, right? Like, so, like, I mean, she had a very dominant showing, scoring in every game this past weekend, which is what you want. You want to see your captain kind of leading the way, and she does it on both ends of the ice. And then so many other girls were able to step up to Presley Ellis. I think that was a great tournament for her,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Like, getting the game winner, too, in the championship game. Like, that's even bigger. So, like, so many different players played extremely well, and like even talking to Coach Lowe, he was like pretty fired up like at the performance the team had as a whole.
Yeah, I would agree. Coach, speaking of Coach Lowe's, he kind of mentioned that was their best game of the year so far, and I would agree. I watched most of that online, but the person that stood out to me was Presley Ellis. I hadn't watched a ton of hockey, a little bit at home here, but I think on the stream you can kind of get a good vantage point. Like, she's got some speed, and again, you're able to see her be dangerous and get that winning goal. But Brielle Fussy, you kidding? Like, 5 goals. They they lit teams up, right? They did what they had to do. One of the most impressive things for me, again, working with Coach Lowe's over the last few years, is only 1 goal against, and arguably it should have been 0, right? It was a misplay from our goaltender, but like good for her to get out and try to make plays, right? So as a goalie, you kind of want them to be that third defenseman, and sometimes it doesn't work out. But overall, like such a good weekend, I think top to bottom, and it's good timing, right? And I think that team always does a good job of timing their peak.
Yeah.
And I know Coach Kirk can speak more on that, but like I think they just do the little things better than everyone else. And this year is one of those seasons where I think that is going to be the difference maker, because other teams have talent this year when they haven't before. So like a Maryville is very dangerous.
Yeah.
A lot of those other top teams, they kind of beat each other, but I think Liberty just does those little things that much better, and I think it's going to be beneficial. So really good weekend. Very happy for them.
Yeah, and I think this team too, probably hungrier than normal too, right? Like you come in after losing national tournament, after winning X amount in a row, so like this team has something to prove to the league and the rest of them, like saying like, yeah, we're still the big dogs, right? Like, and so they want to show that. And then also too, the mentality, I think Liberty kind of lives a little bit rent free in everyone's head, because they know the path to the championship, the Flames are going to be a part of it, right? Like regardless of who they have to face, they know if they want to be able to get that natty ring, LU. So like for the Flames too, they need to carry that like some pride too.
Yeah, and I think what the girls benefit from as well is a huge crop of new players, similar to the men, right? You have a lot of girls who are young and hungry, and watching this weekend, the Ellis, Craig, and Lee line really, again, I know Tristan transferred in, but really gave me flashes to when our current seniors were rookies back in 2022. You just kind of got this big influx of new girls, and they made their presence felt in playoff hockey when it mattered most. And so for Presley to have the weekend like she did, in the scoring column, I was talking to Haley Lee today of that's only happening just because of the speed, the skill, and everybody who's surrounding her out there on the ice. So that whole line played fantastic, and then that's only going to help. And again, really kind of gives me flashes back to when our current seniors were freshmen and the impact they had on that undefeated championship season. But you kind of mentioned on the 1 goal that they had, but for coming away from a conference playoff and scoring 17, giving up 1, like that's massive.
It's a good margin.
Yeah, especially like in the semifinal, playing Jamestown, like they had to go through some tough opponents to get there, borderline upsetting people. So for us to put 7 up on them, like that's huge. And that's kind of been our Achilles heel in the past, was scoring. So to be able to score 17 goals in these last 3 games gives me a ton of confidence heading into nationals.
Yeah, and lots of excitement just to see what they do with the national tournament, because not only are the players hungry, but your head coach is hungry.
Yeah.
He didn't like losing last year, the first time he went through that as well. I mean, Kirk, could you just give us one more word to the drive that you're seeing from your ladies this year compared to maybe a year where they've been on top? They've been the champion who walked away with the national tournament trophy, compared to this year where they're not number 1.
Yeah, that's a really good question. But just to be honest, like I haven't seen any sort of change. The girls have just always been Coach Lowe's classic line of like, they've always been disciplined, they've always had intensity, and they always execute. Discipline, intensity, execution, and that's kind of the same thing every year. I'll just highlight though of our leadership this year. Like they're absolutely awesome. Not saying years past we haven't been, but yeah, just the girls have done such a great job with this many new girls coming in. Just to continue the culture, continue the intensity and knowing what it takes, and make sure nothing has slipped off. And for Captain Brielle Fussy, like she's just done a phenomenal job this year off ice, and so happy for her that she's getting all the success on the ice like she has. But I know it's a team thing, and the whole team is they're just working hard. Like I've been in a situation the last 10 and a half years where I know what winning looks like, and I know what it doesn't look like. And from across Liberty Hockey, with the teams I'm working with, I see a lot of winning, right? I see that effort and that intensity and just focus towards winning, which is awesome. I love that.
Yeah, we're hoping it translates to St. Louis just a few weeks from now. Continuing on with the Nationals talk, and we'll get into this a lot more next week, but the men's Division II, their pool is officially set. It's gonna be them, Army, St. Thomas, and Texas. And I know we were saying this before we came on the podcast, but it seems like one of the better paths you've seen to breaking out of pool play than you have in quite some time.
Yeah, for Liberty especially, right? Like, obviously, this is probably one of their better paths that they've been able to have over the last couple of years. And all good teams, obviously, and us also, too. Like, real quick, the fact that Liberty got the number 2 seed, I think, is even more, like, huge now, because Chris Kerr and Justin Forth have talked about how, regionals is so scary, right?
Yes.
Let's just talk about this real quick. You look at the Southeast region, 3 through 7 aren't going to nationals.
It's crazy.
It's the 8th and 9th.
Really?
Yeah.
That
So
is
crazy.
wild.
Who are they?
So it was, basically the ACCHL. So the Tri-State Conference showed they were a little more strong. And that's basically who was at regionals, was those two conferences. But it was Kentucky, Virginia Tech was in there, Miami, Ohio was in there, and I can't remember the other team that I'm missing right now.
Try to pull it up.
Did you ever see NC State?
No, I don't. Oh, yeah, they might have been.
Because I know that Miami ended up they had like a dramatic win to go play NC State next. I don't know what happened in that game, though.
So Miami, Ohio lost to Ohio.
Okay.
So the Bobcats are sending 2 teams, and then Indiana came back and beat Kentucky.
Yeah.
They were down, and I believe they beat them in overtime too. And Kentucky was the 3, and Indiana, the defending champs, and I believe they were 9. So like that's pretty huge. And Kentucky won that conference too. So.
Yeah, and again, like talking about peaking at the right time, like Indiana, I don't know if they're happy with their season, but like they know the process and they seem to trust it. Like the season's okay, but guess what? We have to be great at regionals, and we're peaking, and we're going to nationals. So like again, nobody expected them to do much last year. I know I didn't, and obviously they had a great showing. So for them to make it back, it's kudos to them. And like we talked about before, it's very, very difficult to win at this level.
Yeah, and we've had this conversation tons of times, like the perks of regionals versus no regionals. But if you're a team like Indiana riding high off of a bid to the national tournament in that fashion, it's got to carry over into the national tournament.
Absolutely, and I'm sure for them and also the Ohio Bobcats, like they're probably jazzed. For a team like Liberty, unfortunately, who have been banged up a ton this year, they're probably happy that they didn't have to go to regionals, right? Like, 'cause they we don't risk losing potential someone. We know what our pool had an idea of what our pool was going to be like prior to the regional tournament, and now it just got made fuller. And you're just now more excited because like, hey, we're going to actually go into nationals finally healthy, which would be the healthiest we were was in September. We haven't been that healthy since. So like now they have a chance to be healthy, and we all saw how they were able to start the season off. So hopefully they can carry that same start into the national tournament.
Yeah, and like you look at it, it's a Lindenwood-less and Florida Golf-less pool. So
you got to be happy.
It's going to be great.
Yeah. And also, before we move on, I just got to say it's kind of fun to see Ohio get as far as they are. I was talking to their coach before they came to play Liberty earlier on in the year. I think he was there. Gosh, I think he was like their stats guy or something last year, got pulled up to be the head coach. He's literally younger than most of the guys on their team.
What? It's like the water boy. Michigan experimented with their towel boy.
He was telling me, like I literally did a class project with our goalie yesterday. Like I think it went pretty well. It was just pretty, it was wild.
He wasn't fibbing to
it. I don't know.
I was looking him up because I knew his background.
That's super impressive.
Yeah.
This is the Bobcats?
Yes, the Bobcats.
Wow.
Right? Like,
no, because I was looking him up on Elite Prospects because usually most of these guys who coach D2 have played for the team before.
Right.
But I didn't see any of that. I just saw that. I think he was the stats guy for D1, for their D1 team. He had played hockey all the way up through high school. I forget why he stopped, but I think they just had an immediate opening. They needed someone to fill it.
It's like Miami Dolphins coach, right? Like I just play a lot of chell, and here I am.
All these young coaches.
Yeah. No, it's wild.
Unreal.
Yeah, so hey, best of luck for them in their respective pool at Nationals. We move on to the women's D2 team. They've been off since February 1st. Okay, so they're about to head on over to their DVCHC tournament and try to make some magic happen there, win the conference for the second time in program history. But we know what's looming for them, a top spot in the national tournament. Mm-hmm. So really this conference tournament is going to be huge in, one, getting their legs back under them, and then two, just gaining some momentum as they approach St. Louis.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, right? You want to gain some momentum. Also, too, you want to go to St. Louis on a high. Like last year, unfortunately, they went on a bit of a low because they got upset in the second day of playoffs. Mm-hmm. And they also were at the bubble, too. So they weren't even sure, like, if they were going to make nationals. They were like, oh, man, like, I guess we'll have to wait and see. And so they got some help in that conference championship to push them through. And then they had, obviously, were able to win the program's 2 first ever games at nationals. So for them, like, they want to be able to have a good showing here, kind of dominate the way you have all season long, and then, yeah, go into the nationals on a high.
Yeah, I mean, as the assistant coach of that team, I'm really excited for this weekend. Even as for coaches, like, yeah, it's great to have 4 weeks of practices, but it's also hard to keep the girls motivated,
right?
Without something to work for at the end of that week. So this week, the girls, even the practice this morning, girls have that little extra step. And it looks like they're paying attention just a little bit more heading into this weekend. But we're excited. We get the bye going into Saturday, so we've got a semifinal. Hopefully we take care of business there and then make it to the final. But there was an upset this past weekend. Villanova lost to number 6 or 7 Rowan in our conference, 2-1 in overtime. So, I mean, even when we played Rowan, like every game is tight. Every game's losable. Right. Mm-hmm. We kind of know what we are up against, and we just have to execute our systems and do the little things right, and hopefully be successful. But again, to get a conference championship second in team's history, I think will be huge. And the girls are excited, and as a coach, I couldn't be more excited to go to conference and then go to nationals again.
All right, so fourth, yeah, so good chunk of that top 5 in the Southeast region from your conference, right?
Yeah.
So, like, are you going to potentially see some of these teams at nationals?
Yeah, so the way our pool's drawn out this year, we get the number 3 in the Southeast and the number 5 in the Southeast. So we should see a Villanova again, which, again, they're a good team and we've lost to them. But as a coach, you have a ton of video on them and you know what to expect, and the girls aren't going to be surprised by anything. And obviously the number 5, whoever that ends up being. So we like our pool. We get the number 3 from the Central, the number 2, from the Central, and that's a little bit scary because it's now Wisconsin, and they've split with like an Assiniboine community college, so they're a good squad this year. But yeah, we're excited from where we are, and lots to be done, but we're very excited.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to watch as they approach the national tournament. Lots of buzz around that specific program this season. Can't wait to see what they do come tournament time. Now we'll wrap it up here with our men's D3 team. Number 1 in the nation, guys. Let's go.
That's right.
All right. Why are we laughing, Pat?
I think because we're number 1 in the nation. And before when I made this rundown, I just assumed you're number 1 in the nation. You're number 1 in your conference, obviously. Yeah. And come to find out, I heard we're the number 3 seed heading into the conference playoffs, but we'll be the number 1 seed at the national tournament, which. Yeah, I mean, you won a national title more than
mind games heading right into the.
That's right. Yeah. So
now, Coach Forth, you were sharing how you were talking with Coach Wagner. Can you explain to us how this worked?
Yeah. So, Coach Kerr and I share an office.
And don't put me in this. Yeah. I don't get it.
No, I was minding my own business, and we were kind of talking like, okay, we're number 1 in the nation, but number 3 in the conference, and Coach Kerr was like typing on his computer as he often does, as you see here, and it was kind of like pause. What? So like we spent probably a good 5 minutes talking about how this makes sense, and then we just decided we're not going to solve that problem today or tomorrow. So we're just going to roll with number 1 in the nation, number 3 in the conference. So great job, guys.
Yeah. Who was it? It was York, and who was the other team? I can't remember. Rowan. Yeah.
Rowan.
Like, we beat them.
Rowan?
Yeah, they swept them. Yeah. But hey, not in the conference.
Yeah. Those were internationally sanctioned
Those are
games.
Foreign games.
Yeah. If wins in Virginia don't count
Yeah.
towards wins elsewhere.
Yeah.
And so that's what was happening with them. But the boys are ready. These boys are hungry. We were working out yesterday, and I'm just so we'll continue to talk about them. But I'm just so proud of this team, and I want to give a big shout out to their leadership of Ethan Dunn and Caleb. Unfortunately, I'd never know what to say. Your last name is. I'm going to say Burchett. Does anyone want to help me out?
Berkey. That's probably what he goes.
Yeah, everyone calls him Birch, so I just never know. But anyway, for Caleb and Ethan, I called them out at the beginning of the year. I was like, hey, here's how this team's always gone. How are you two as leaders on this team going to direct them in a better path? They both gave a great answer, and they've stuck to it, and they've stuck to their word. Even though Jeb Boring is faster than Ethan in a 10-meter sprint, which we found out yesterday, that's okay. But this is a hungry team who's working so hard. Mikey Williams gave a good speech yesterday in the prayer circle. They're fired up and they're ready to go. I'm expecting big things this postseason for this team.
Yeah, I think we've said it kind of all season long, but this is a team we feel like is going to make it out of pool play, and then I think they're going to make some noise at nationals, especially now being number one. They've got to be even more fired up.
Yeah,
and we have a real shot at winning this national championship.
Yeah.
And if anything, you have even more fuel going into the ACCHL playoffs because, it's a little bit of disrespect. I'm number one in the nation.
That's true.
Yeah,
so that's right.
So they'll have a little bit of extra fire heading into the ACCHL playoffs. Is that this upcoming weekend, Pat?
Yep.
It's upcoming weekend. Better stay tuned. And then after that, it's just the national tournament left for all 5 of these programs. We're going to break it all down next week. We can't wait to get into it. So stay tuned for the official national preview show. But other than that, thanks so much for tuning into the Rock the Rink podcast. We'll see you guys next time.